Hey mate, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. This is my break time now, and then into mastering a bunch more records, which is always fun. What about you?
Great. This is 8:30, so it's basically the end of my typical, day. And we typically have dinner around 6:30 p.m. So 2 hours after dinner, it's when I finish the last things I'm doing, between 8:30 to 10:30. The last two golden hours where I get, to understand more, like a mix, or like I'm finishing a song for Sanremo from Leonardo Zaccaria. And so basically I was watching videos too. And so it's when you really focus, and you hear like.
My friend Michele Canova joins us today. He is a music producer from Italy, currently living in LA. He was first introduced in 1988 to the synthesizer from one of his friends. At the time, he was studying classical music. He's now engaged and embraced technology into his whole career, into his whole lifestyle. And now, 21st century, one of the biggest Italian music producers out there, 18 million albums sold, 7 diamond, 17 or 15 multi-platinum, 10 platinum records under FIMI certification. I want to welcome you, Michele. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nicholas, for having me.
Thank you. Now, I want to start at the very beginning because this is something crazy, because we're going to be talking a bit about technology business today. Anybody understands what music technology is, especially in the music industry. We all engage with it. It's widely accepted. You're a classical violin musician. You start working with synthesizers and digital technology in the 90s. What was it like? What were your peers around you like? Did they support you? Did they question you? What was that journey in the beginning?
So thank you for the question. I think actually it started even before that, because I started like playing like, actually I want to say like a lot of other people, but at the time, I'm talking about 82, I was 10 years old. Not a lot of people actually had a home computer. I'm talking about the Big 20, and then after that the Commodore 64. So I was probably the only one, and I mean a few other friends that had like Commodore 64, and I was just playing and loving programming into BASIC. After that, like my love for programming brought me to another computer, was the Sinclair QL, and I started programming in Lisp and Fortran 77. So before even, I mean, I was already playing piano, self-taught piano, and actually the year after I bought Commodore 64, I started violin in a conservatory when I was 10, actually. So, I mean, it probably started at the same time, but when I quit violin at 15, I still, had a lot of experience with personal computers, both programming and even fiddling with some very primitive DAWs, even before starting my electronic music career, because I owned an Atari even before owning an Amiga, Commodore Amiga. So the Atari was not great for video games, but it was already, a music computer basically, because the MIDI interface was already, included, in the system, and the first version of Creator and then Notator came in, and so because everyone had pirated software at the time. Actually, at that time, no one even knew about the big difference in Italy. I'm talking about big difference between original and pirated software, because the shops were actually selling pirated software. It was really weird. So I think I got like for $10 like a copy of some Notator or Creator, and I started fiddling without even owning any synthesizer. After I quit conservatory, I forced my mother with all my whatever I could say to her, to buy a Roland D10. That was my first synthesizer, and so I hooked up the D10 to the MIDI ports on the Atari ST, and then magic started happening. I could insert numbers and play notes from the notator directly to my Roland D10, and really, everything started from there. So around all my friends, only one, which was Valerio, which is the guy that actually showed me for the first time how he had a Korg T3 and Sonic Mirage and this, Atari ST 1040, which he was basically piloting everything, from that. He showed me around, how to program a DAW and how to sample into a 8-bit sampler. And I bought instantly an Akai S900 and some other drum machines, and everything started from there. But basically, no one was doing that. Just very few people in Italy.
So, yeah. So you were deep in it. I thought it was starting for you in the late 80s, not necessarily deep into your synths and.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Because at the time, like I'm trying to think of 80s records in Italy on the charts back then. It wasn't like America where every single record in America in the 80s synthesized, electronically programmed. Not in Italy at the time.
So quite the opposite, because Italy is very similar to all the Latin markets. So it gets a little bit later, to all the trends, and sometimes it doesn't even get some trends,
Yeah.
So I mean, there were synthesizer for sure. If you think about Umberto Tozzi, Gloria, and that was 84, I think, or so, and that was like full of like, I don't know, it was Jupiter 8 or something Rolandish for sure, or Jupiter 60 or something like that. The main sound. Then I think a lot of pool records were done with synthesizer, because those guys, they had infinite amount of money. They could basically rent every keyboard, and they were using all the top studios. So pretty sure that they were embracing that technology. Maybe not in the best way possible, but they were still around. And I'm pretty sure that some places in Milan, they owned a Fairlight already, in the 80s.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure that Pino and Antonio Baglio and Pino Pischetola, they were working in Logic Studios in the 80s, because after that, Pino recorded, part of Violator, Depeche Mode Violator, and I'm pretty sure that the owner of Logic already owned Fairlight, because they were like they were having a separate business as an ad company. So they were like creating commercials basically. So Fairlight was a key piece when it came out,
Oh, wow. That's crazy. I didn't even realize Pino went back that far. That's,
Pino started, I think, late 80s, or if not mid 80s, doing a mix. He started as an assistant at Logic Studios. At that time, Logic Studios were one of the most famous, recording studio in Europe,
Oh, wow.
Like everyone was coming there,
Yeah, I was always under the assumption Pino and Antonio were on the come up with you through the 90s. I didn't realize.
No. I was a kid. They were already working, and they were top level in Italy, In fact, Antonio was the only mastering engineer in Italy, the only famous mastering engineer in Italy from the 80s to the 90s. Actually, Antonio is even older than Pino. So Antonio started, even if they started the same day at Logic, but I think Antonio had some more experience somewhere else, or maybe in Sicily, where he's coming from.
Yeah, I think I remember him telling me the story. They both started in the same room together as assistants. That's crazy. That's turbulent. That's
the crazy story about them is that I think the owners said to both of them that they were the head of the other.
Oh, okay.
So they started clashing at the beginning, because I am the head. Yeah.
Have you ever done that to anybody you've worked with now to get them motivated?
No. I would say I would call it stupid. Why?
You're not that crazy. No, that's all right. Well, lovely. Well, so that's good to know. The synthesizer, you came up with it. You learned it. It was something new. What I find interesting is that in the 90s, I remember listening to your TEDx talk, and you're talking about the 90s recording studios are starting to migrate down, budgets are getting a little bit smaller. You had to self-teach everything. You had to understand recording, production, mixing, sound design, everything. Because now your career is 30 years long.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Which is crazy. Because somebody would say, like, you think in the housing market in 2008, if you went out to buy a house, people would think you're crazy. In the 90s, if you said, I'm going to start making records and all the recording studios are getting smaller budgets, people say you're crazy. How did you turn that in the 90s? How did you sustain 30 years? How did you turn that learning experience of creating records and putting things together into a viable business that's now?
There is just one word. It's passion. You
Yeah.
need to have passion. And you know what I mean. You seem so passionate about doing your both, your mastering job but also like interfacing with social media and trying to grow your business more. So it's passion, passion always. I never felt tired in my life. Never. I mean, I was doing the craziest hours, especially before, I would say before 40, so between 18 and 38, let's say, I was doing like 7 days a week, every day, every week, no vacation, except for, like the usual 10 days in a year, and then 15 hours easily, Sunday included, but it was not, that was my life, and I loved it, and listen, you have to remember that before actually selling my first big record, before I like producing my first big record, which was Rosso Relativo in 2001, it took me 10 years. It took me 10 years of doing that every day. From 91, I had my first record, coming out with BMG Ariola and Leandro Barsotti. And first big hit was 2001. So literally 10 years,
Wow.
It's actually almost what I'm redoing here in LA. So I'm here since 8 years, and I'm starting to see placement only in the last year and a half, and no big hits. Maybe hopefully the next big hit we're gonna come in 2 years, in America, let's say, But it takes time because you need to relearn everything. It's crazy, but I still love it in a different way because I can't do anymore 15 hours a day. And also it's dangerous because you can burn yourself, out. If you for like 40 years you do 15 hours a day, you're gonna go crazy. Not even the biggest producer I know, but so I take more pauses. I have people working for me, luckily, that they can do part, one Patrizio for sure, but there's other people. And with the record company that we're gonna talk later, I'm actually learning to use other people and just to do executive production, which I love.
Yeah, so delegating, taking a back seat. That means as you spread it out, to other people to do more of the 15 hours of work of the menial tasks, the editing, the comping, some of the beat making, you're focusing on the core passion, which is the music itself, the finding, the discovery, the creation, and other people doing those bits in between. You mentioned something interesting, which was Tiziano's album. 2001, that comes out. It's been 10 years. You've done 10 years, for 15 hours a day straight. Did anything pivot or change then? Or did it mean you had to even work harder?
I mean, you mean after that album or?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, you know what? I probably had to work even harder without even realizing it, because suddenly there were people paying attention to what I was doing. Before, no one even knew me, so I could technically do whatever I wanted. Now, especially already after 2001, the second album, I didn't get any more to work with Tiziano's executive producers, so I had everything on myself, and Tiziano was not even actually with me because he was touring Latin America with Rosso Relativo when I had to do 111,
Yeah.
So I was by myself with phone calls coming directly from EMI Milan, but also EMI London. I mean, think about someone from Padua, that's like in the middle of nowhere inside an office that was actually the Lexmark office, so the printer, Lexmark, I think Lexmark, so it was basically not even a studio. It was like a square, with some, foam. And then suddenly I received calls from EMI London. At the time, EMI was, like myth, was the Pink Floyd record label. In fact, we went actually, while I was doing 111, we went to visit, EMI London. There was still one of those big inflatable recreation of when the Berlin concert, the Pink Floyd went the Berlin Wall. So that, so it was like, suddenly from Padua, I was like visiting London, the EMI, director, whatever. So that was I and I had for the first time in my life some kind of not nervous breakdown, but I was not able to do any music work for 1 month straight. While Tiziano was in Latin America, I was approaching my studio. I was entering my studio at 9 a.m. and I was starting shaking. Never happened in my life. Shaking, like something physical. And I quit smoking 5 years before that. And you know what? I started smoking back, again,
Yeah.
and the shaking went away. It was weird.
Oh wow, that's
For
crazy.
1 month I was, because I felt the pressure about delivering and there was no one on the chain of command over me now. I was the one deciding everything with Tiziano, obviously, but Tiziano was not with me. I felt, yeah, well, I still remember it. I don't think it ever happened to me again, but
Oh, that's
pressure to deliver, after you sold 1.5 million copies, and for the 10 year before you never sold anything, that was weird.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. I could never. I understand the pressure. We as a creative, we all experience the pressure of our art and people engaging in it. But that would have been crazy at the time. Such a quick turn and pivot. But I want to dive in a little bit more to the creativity side of things. Okay.
Please.
I know when I visited LA, all the people around you have a good rapport with. You build relationships with people. They stay close to you. But something I want to get really deep on is Canova Ascolta,
Okay.
which I think is really interesting. This is how I see it, and you're going to correct me. All right. The old model, an A&R works with music producers, gets pitched by their assistant, sees the music, listens to it, goes through it. It's a bit of a chain of command before a song or demo gets to an A&R and then moves to an executive producer, then moves to a producer. But with Canova Ascolta, every week you're listening to music producers, singers, beat makers all around the world, particularly in Italy, who are independent, unsigned, and they've got an opportunity for you to listen to their music, give them feedback, and that's part of your Canova records as well. What in your mind made you change that model from the old one to the new one?
Listen, I saw someone else doing it. They're very easy. I saw Shalizi, which is Marshmallow Manager.
Yeah,
I don't know if he was doing that I know it was not branding it. I was seeing, you see this Instagram live where you basically watch other people, the people that I follow here in LA, and the guy was actually picking up randomly, calls, or EG lives from other people that were knowing that he was, the Marshmallow producer. He's also DJ Snake manager. So it was randomly picking up, but it was a little bit different because he's, he can afford to be also very cynical and also very, not disrespectful, but, he cuts the audio if he doesn't like something without even talking, But I loved I don't know if he was conscious or unconscious of what he was doing, or if it was just 3 days that he did that, during dinner time. But I thought, this is great. I mean, this could be like a format, because actually, what's the last, because everything is online, we produce remotely, we songwrite remotely, we release music, like uploading to the DSP remotely.
Yeah.
The only last part is like doing A&R. I mean, I was already doing A&R remotely. Lisa has been actually brought to my attention by a friend of mine, Tucker Hennessy, that he operates from Nashville and now he's moving to LA. And what he does for me, for other people, is doing talent scouting, So it scouts through the internet, So, I mean, the last part to close the chain was basically doing A&R. And I mean, I'm doing it seriously because I think, respectfully more than that, because I think people deserve respect totally. And if they're willing to give me their time and to, and also to play me their music, I want to give them, my 1 minute or 2 minutes of like sincere and honest and very straight, review of what they're doing. But the more I'm doing it, the more I like it, and the more I'm trying to make it become even something better. So what I want to do now is migrating this idea to Twitch every month. So the best of every kind of Ascolta, they're gonna they want to come with me in a session, in like 1 hour session on Twitch, where I share my Pro Tools screen, I import their tracks, and I try to make it better, or simply I point, with my Pro Tools screen, where is the problem, where they should do something, or I give suggestions like playing a keyboard, and I split 1 hour between 4 people, so 25 minutes each, and I think it's enough to at least to show them what they could do. I mean, as long as we are excited about this, about like the social media aspect, I think it's something that can do no harm. Actually, can do a lot of good things.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I've taken inspiration from it a lot, because how do I put it? Especially, I'm very
taking inspiration from you, actually. Or no, I'm not joking. From your positive attitude, how you split your day between, the more like classical, music, mastering stuff, and so you seem to be very organized, which we totally need that organization if you want to do music production, mixing, social media, IG, business relation. It's crazy. And Patrizio was the first one telling me about you and how you are. You was like admiring the way you were like setting up everything. So I mean, we learn. I think we all learn from each other. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, yeah, well, my thing that attracted me to what you were doing, especially with Canova Sculptor, is because I'm very youthful in my career. I'm only 7 years in, very, very young in my career. So having access to people like Patrizio, to people like you, is very reaching for the skies, so to speak. So when you open up a door for all these artists, for all these independent people to come and access you, there are very few producers out there who do that. There are a lot, like I find on a public level, to just be able to join an Instagram live, drop a beat to somebody, that I think is incredible.
And I ask myself why, and I think that, I mean, I don't ask myself about other people. I think that in my case, I reached a point. I don't think I will ever have done this like last year. It's not only about COVID and what happened, but it's about, or maybe it's about COVID, about feeling yourself, some kind of crazy pandemic that changes, your mindset, and you have a family. I don't know what it is, but simply I felt ready to start talking to people. And before that, I was just talking to Patrizia and all my friends, about. Basically, I'm recreating what I was doing in my studio, or when people were coming to my studio, showing me songs or playing me, a project and something, to the point that I think I could totally do this even on a TV show, not like X Factor, but, we're thinking about it, something like to be transparent enough and not fake, to do it like real time on a live show, on a TV show. Yeah.
Okay, I've got a bit of a fun question for this. You can pick any artist in all of history to come on Canova Sculptor to show you something they never released. Which artist would it be?
It's easy. Robert Smith from The Cure.
Really?
In the sense that it's my idol. I don't know but listen, I don't know if I want to see Robert Smith showing me a song never. I want to see on a personal level. I want to go on. Actually, that happened. So an Italian, how do you say, manager, in, I can't even tell you, 2005 or 6, because he was the one organizing all the Cure concerts in Italy. So he organized a dinner where I was part of the Cure. I was part of the dinner, together with Robert Smith, and I could not go at the last moment because I had to work with Tiziano in Milan.
Oh, wow.
So especially at that point in my life, they were like my favorite band ever. From 94, 90. Well, wait, I can tell you exactly. 92, I think I discovered the Cure. So pretty late in the game, I discovered the Cure. But from 92 to 2002, 2003, I was like the biggest fan. I had like drawings that he made in Australia when he released his first record, and they were part of a bootleg, and I bought that through eBay. So at that point of craziness,
wow. Okay.
At some point, I knew everything. I knew every unreleased song. I knew every beef that they had in London with other. That Depeche Mode and The Cure, they hated each other. Or I knew so many things.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. That's crazy.
Oh,
That's
Robert.
really interesting. You figure because I I I'm gonna now listen and see and hope I can find some of that inspiration in your productions when I listen. Is there any
I don't know.
crossover?
There's nothing super evident, super,
No.
but for sure there is, there is something about the arrangement. I loved how he was laying guitars, a guitar. I think he's a guitar hero for sure. I would put him in the top 20 for sure. Uh, Not because he's a great solo, but he's a great arranger on the guitar, and is a great connoisseur of all the craziest, cheapest guitars or the crazy, pedal. He knows everything, about that. And there's some record where he recorded all the instruments because he was such a leader, also arrogant leader, and he was always changing band members. That at some point, I think on the record was the top. I think it's called the top, where Caterpillar is. I
Yeah.
think he has done he did all that record by himself because
Oh.
everyone would say, you know what, fuck up, and then went away. It was by himself in the studio.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. I noticed the guitars in the record we worked on together. The layering between all those, like a million guitars, was
Yeah,
so thick. I can't
yeah,
remember how many. I couldn't count them because it was just as
yeah.
I was compressing more and more, I would hear more tone and more detail come through it. That was crazy. 2012, you moved to LA. All right, you set up your studio. You moved studios a few times. When I was in LA, I had one problem with even when I visited other studios or did any work, because I did a little bit of work while I was there in January, and that was the coffee and the pizza. Now,
Yeah.
I seen Kiara's posts. You share them every day. Now I'm following her. Kiara's your wife. She makes beautiful food all the time. If you could pick one main dish and one dessert of hers, which is your all-time favorite, which ones would you pick?
I mean, not to go back to what you were saying, but literally pizza, because since a month, she nailed the la pizza napoletana, the Napolitan.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and when I say nail, I mean, it's incredible to the point that, I mean, even when we show that to pizza makers around, even in Italy, they say, oh, wow, it's perfect. So I love it. And she does a particular one, which I love, which is porro e zola,
Yeah.
which is probably scallion, but I'm not sure if porro is scallion, and zola is gorgonzola,
Yeah.
So, but I love it. And dessert, I mean, I'm not, I don't have like the sweet tooth in particularly, but the last one she did like this, almost, we call it semifreddo in Italian. I don't know. So
Yeah. Same in English. Yeah.
yeah, and it's with lemon, and it's all basically vegan because it's done with cashew.
Oh
So
yeah.
all the white that you see, it's not, like something coming from a milk from a cow. It's not
Yeah.
milk. So it's super like soft, and it's also super light, which I love. I don't know what's the name of, so she will probably get it.
Semifreddo in English is
Yeah.
semifreddo. Oh, maybe I know it as, but
Maybe she calls it another way, so she's gonna get mad at me. Oh, well, you
that's.
didn't.
But I love making pizza at home. But does she do it in a wood oven or convection?
She does it with double. She call it double cook, basically. So she does it both in a, I don't know how to say Giza in English,
I don't know either.
like a super heavy metal.
Oh, a plate, a metal plate.
Yeah, but
Oh
Giza
no.
is the metal. So let me tell you,
Okay.
Giza
Yeah.
in English. I think. Let me see. Giza in English. Inglese. Cast iron.
Oh,
Okay.
in a cast iron pot.
Cast iron.
Yeah.
And then that's only 1 minute and a half. And then she moves it to our incredible Wolf, oven, which is one of the most incredible oven ever made. And 1 minute and a half there, and it's done.
Oh wow! And it's got the cornicione and everything.
Yeah. Like I'm telling you, I'm not exact. I mean, I would never say that. It's like pro level. Like you show that to a pizza guy, and he's like incredible. He's incredible.
That's incredible. Wow, I'm so that's so good. I'm gonna put something on you when I'm in LA. We're gonna have a pizza night one night because that's one thing I never ever I hold everybody accountable to that. If some
Coffee you can get. You have to know where to go. There's a lot of great coffee spots in LA, but there are boutique coffee places. You have to, but there's a lot. There's a lot.
what I did when I was in LA, I brought my mocha pot.
Oh, but do you mean espresso?
Yeah, espresso.
There's basically no espresso. You know what? I mean, for our anniversary, we had this wonderful dinner at Gucci Osteria, which is this new place opened by Massimo Bottura, which like
Yeah.
#1 in the world in Beverly Hills on Rodeo Drive. The best coffee I've ever had in all America. So it's like Italian level. I don't know how they do it. They probably import the water from Italy.
That's crazy because in Melbourne you can find Italian level coffee everywhere.
Because there's a lot of Italians.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of Italians. There is, but the community is small. Very small.
Yeah. No, is what it is. But I'm gonna hold you to that because I love pizza, and if you say that's the best pizza, I got to try it. I did find one Neapolitan pizzeria in Fullerton, just north of where Nam is. And they did nice pizza. It was good, but the basil tastes a bit different. I think the water.
We have homegrown basil, homegrown tomatoes. So we have a lot of homegrown here in our backyard. So I mean, that's a plus.
Yeah, no, because that's very important. If the basil's a little bit off or it's not fresh, it's wrong. But look, Michele, I really appreciate your time for this episode. Thank you so kindly for going through everything with us. And thank you again. Okay, Michele?
Thank you, Nicholas. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No worries. All right. Thank you.